Good morning, everyone. If I could just get everyone to take their seats, we're going to get started. Oh, you all got quiet so quickly. That's great. Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Janet Weber. I am the Executive Director of SFU Public Square. We are one of the presenting partners today, along with the Vancouver City Planning Commission and the City of Vancouver Resilience Office. So thank you so much for being here. We have two supporting partners, which are the Downtown Vancouver Business Improvement Association and the Real Estate Foundation of BC. So we just want to send out our thanks and acknowledgement for their support for this event also. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are privileged to host this event today on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. I'm sure we're all very excited for the day that we no longer have to make that statement, that we've achieved reconciliation and we're moving forward in that way. So I am very, very honored to introduce Hereditary Chief Janice George from the Squamish Nation, who's going to provide us with a welcome this morning. Janice learned to weave from Susan Pavel and Bruce Miller of Squamish in 2003, and is grateful to have had many spiritual, cultural, and scholarly mentors. She began teaching in Squamish territory and continues to travel, sharing technical, spiritual, and generational teachings. She has just published a book in January called Salish Blankets, Robes of Transformation and Protection, Symbols of Wealth, and it was co-authored with Willard Joseph and Dr. Leslie Tepper. Please join me in welcoming Chief George.
Tanoyap and Sequatals. Ayas chop tanoyap. Ayas chop tanoyap. Ayas chop tanoyap. Chepximiya Siyam kwashamans na. Tanachint las nak. Skochopmish uchomeoch. Anwanaxton squallowan. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the territory of the Coast Salish, where our ancestors walked and lived from the beginning of time. My ancestral name is Chepximiya Siyam. I'm a hereditary chief from the Squamish Nation and spokesperson for my family, my father's family, the George family. I was asked to carry on the chieftainship by my elders of my family, so it's an honor to acknowledge that man who was the chief of Sanok. And Sanok is a place everybody knows now as Falls Creek. My ancestors settled that area, and I just have to acknowledge that ancestor because his prayers and his love for me and love for the people are still here, as is all of the ancestors that walked this land. Their prayers and love for the people are still here. So yesterday and today I want to talk about the Great Fire in Vancouver. It was in June 13th, 1886. There was a huge fire, the Great Fire of Vancouver, and over 1,000 buildings burned down, and there was only 3 buildings left. But it was so huge and so intense that people were running into the water to get away from the fire. And my people across the water there saw that. And they all ran and got their canoes, and they came over to help the people here. So they came and picked up people in their canoes and brought them over to Squamish, where our reserve is over on that side. So I like to talk about our people as resilient people, adaptable people, and people of perseverance. So it's an amazing story of working together and being resilient together. That's something that we all have to do now, respect each other's teachings and respect each other's history when we're building from a foundation of a place where there was people here before. I look forward to the day when our people can come and sit at the table too and contribute what we know and what we have. But for now, I just want to thank you all for being here and talking about the future of our beautiful city, Siyam.
So thank you for that, and I think that really helps set the tone for what the work that we're going to be doing today as we're talking about Shaping Resiliency, a summit on resilience and Vancouver's future. So I'm going to just give you some quick housekeeping notes. There will be breaks today, but there is water on either side of these rooms if you need to just take a moment and grab some water. The bathrooms are downstairs one floor or up the next floor. Please just self-care whenever you feel like you need to do that, go for it. Microphones. So for anyone who hasn't been in this room before, every seat has a microphone. There is a button that if you press it, it should turn red. There'll be a red ring around your microphone, and that means that you're on. Rather than having everyone turn on their microphones when they want to speak, we're going to ask that you take your tent card and put it up sideways. There's a little slot, and then Nola-Kate and our other facilitators will be able to know that you actually have something that you would like to say, that you'd like to speak, rather than having to hold your arm up the entire time. We are going to be having lunch today at around 12:15. It's going to be in the ICBC room, which is down one floor. Please take your belongings with you when we go for lunch, because after lunch, we're going to be heading immediately to the breakout rooms to get into the breakout work. So you don't want to leave your stuff here. You want to have your materials with you for the work that we're going to do. Those rooms are on the 3rd and 4th floor. In case you're wondering which breakout room you're going to, there's a little sticker on your name badge, and there's going to be people that will help you also with this in a slide that will go up later. But just quickly, blue sticker, you're in breakout room 320. That's a city for all. If you have a green sticker, you're in breakout room 370. That's engagement for real. If you have a red sticker, you're in communities and corridors. That's room 420. If you have a yellow sticker, you're in financing the public good. You're in room 470. There will be signs. There will be volunteers. The Wi-Fi password and login is up here. I'm going to apologize in advance. The Wi-Fi is terrible here, so just be warned. And it also, for whatever reason, seems to block your data too. So we'll do our best, but there's the login password. You might want to write it down for in case you move rooms. So we know that you are all very busy people, and you could all probably be about 1 million other places today. So we are incredibly grateful that you made the choice to be here today to work with us. And thank you. We're eager for your contributions and your participation. And now I'm pleased to pass things over for today, for our moderator today, which is Nola-Kate Seymour, the chair of the Vancouver City Planning Commission. Please join me in welcoming Nola.
Good morning. We're full. There was a wait list, and I think that indicates how much interest there is in the subject of resiliency in our city. So thank you for coming, and on behalf of the Vancouver City Planning Commission, let me say welcome. And also, thank you, Chief George. I really appreciate your pointing out some of our needs for resiliency. I also want to add my thanks to the Real Estate Foundation and the Downtown Vancouver BIA for their support. Okay, so many of you have been working on resilience for ages, or various aspects of resilience in the city for ages. This isn't the first dialogue, it's simply the first one that VCPC has convened on this particular topic this year, along with the 100 Resilient Cities group. But we do hope that it will be part of a series of dialogues. So I want to I have to tell you that I'm in a most unusual role today. I have to be a facilitator, and I'm normally an advocate. So if I'm supposed to now keep the process and not worry about the content, But if I get content seduced, you have to call me on it, and I might step back. Okay, so let me just tell you some of the ground rules about the dialogue. First of all, step up and step back. Some of us talk a lot, and some of us are quiet, and we need to be, those of us who talk too much, or a lot, need to be quieter and listen, and those who are normally quiet, I encourage you to step up. Make sure that your ideas are part of this conversation. Treat each other with respect. That means you need to know that every single person here has been invited for a reason. You have expertise that we need in this dialogue. So please respect other people and make sure that everybody in your group gets a chance to talk. Listen actively to understand. Don't just sit and wait for your turn to speak. And please be present. We need you to put your cell phones on no ring. We need you to keep them in your pocket or your purse. Be present in this location if you can. We'll be taking breaks, and that's the time when you can check emails or do other things. Okay, now one of the things, in order to make this a successful dialogue, is that we need to use the Chatham House rule. And that rule is that we will be recording, and there's note takers in this event. Where's George? Well, anyway, George Benson is the chief recorder for us, and then there will be note takers at each of the breakout tables. So they will be taking notes, and you will be too, I'm sure. It's important not to attribute any quote to any person in the room. So don't Twitter out, guess what Nola-Kate Seymour said about such and such. That's breaking the Chatham House rules. Okay. So we don't need to find consensus. This isn't a decision-making group. This is a chance to scan and hear from everybody. Gordon, I don't know where there's a place for you to sit. Oh, in the front, in the front. Oh. Okay. I'm going to just eliminate most of that. When you get to your breakout rooms, there will be tables in the breakout rooms, and there will be a facilitator and a note taker in each of those, at each of those tables and in each of those rooms. Okay, let's find out who's in the room today. We don't have time to go around and have you all introduce yourselves, so I'm going to get you active. That means you have to stand up and sit down. So I'm going to ask you, would all of you who work in the business sector in some way, please stand up. There we are. Okay. How about those of you who are working in an academic setting? Students, professors, trainers. Here's our group from academe or training sector. How about those of you who work with community organizations or non-government organizations? Stand up. Wow, we've got a really good representation here. How about anybody who works with New Canadians? Where's George? He's not in the room at the moment. Okay, how many of you are either City of Vancouver staff or have at some time been on or are now on an advisory board or have sat on any of the city committees? Oh, good. Oh, good. VCPC stand up. Okay. Now, those of you who are here who are members of the Vancouver City Planning Commission, will you please stand up? There we go. My favorite colleagues. Okay. There are a few other questions. How many of you are under 30? Woohoo! How many of you are between 30 and 55? Woohoo! And how many of you, as my mother would say, are 55 and some months? Excellent. Okay, so the point that I'm trying to establish is that we have a pretty diverse group of people here today. And it's important that you take the opportunity to actually meet some new people. So at lunch in particular, will you please network and get to know somebody that you haven't already known, or if you really want to get together with somebody you know in your network, then please go for deeper discussions of the topics. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer to actually talk about VCPC's interest in this subject. And Jennifer is an architect who, on our behalf, went with me down to Quito to the Habitat 3 in last fall that developed the new urban agenda.
Thank you, Nola-Kate. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. You don't need me. I don't need any slides. So why are we here today? VCPC, we're conveners and advisors. We don't actually do work. Our strategy is to reach out to community and have you do work with us. And because we need to really create a much broader, deeper understanding of all of the issues that are at play, particularly with the subject of resilience that we have taken on as our agenda for the next 5 years. So each of you here, in some way, are shaping the future of our city, and we want to harness your expertise and passion to shape a more resilient place, both now and into the future. And, core to resilience is this notion of community, and that is why we've chosen to work here, across discipline, across neighborhood, across culture, to meet the challenges we face. And that is truly how we are going to create a resilient community to face the future. Today, we're looking to break down silos and create cross-pollinating communities. So that is why you've been invited here today. So I wanted, on behalf of the VCPC, to express our gratitude for your contribution of your time, but also for what you will bring to the conversation. So the new urban agenda is a UN initiative that has been signed by, I don't know how many hundreds of countries across the planet. The framework is very broad of the new urban agenda, and each city has challenges and solutions that will need to be different for their needs. For example, Kolkata and Vancouver are very different, yet the fundamental principles, and in fact the lessons that can be learned from third world countries, or cities, I should say, resonate with the challenges we face today and will face in the future. Some key points from the new urban agenda that were takeaways for us coming away in shaping resilience are the importance of the city to be considered in terms of its bioregion, not just its city boundaries. The need for all levels of government to come together to address issues, and we are really, I think in your discussions today, you will really come up against that. Yeah, but the city doesn't, we don't hold those reins, it's the province or it's the feds. So how can we start to break those boundaries down and create more collaborative ways of financing and administering for resilience? And effective solutions are based in real data and ground-up knowledge which is best achieved by working with the grassroots. So all of you here who work with community on a daily basis, boots on the ground, your voices are particularly important because you actually know what's going on. So, working together is how we're going to get to resilience. So our themes flow out of the new urban agenda as they seemed most relevant to the challenges facing the city today, and where the city, capital C, may need some support or reframing. That is in the area of creating an accessible, inclusive city. How are we connecting with the citizenry? And then how are we financing resilience? How are we going to actually do any of this great work we're talking about? And what kind of a place are we shaping? And does it, in fact, support resilience? I think this is a big question we have to ask ourselves at this point in time. We're sort of at a bit of a moment here of reflection. So, as I've said earlier, that today we'll lead, we'll start to frame some of the dialogues and our activities over the next 5 years. And as I said, our role is to advise council on planning direction for the city. So the work you do here today will play a role in informing our work and framing the discussion. So I thank you, and thank you, Chief George.